Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the 2021 SpaceChem Tournament Round 3 video. Today we're going to be talking about the puzzle Podium. So this puzzle, let's take a look at what's involved. So the theme for this puzzle was creating a podium shape with gold in the middle, silver on the outside, and copper on the end. And it's going to be a random level. And one special thing that I've done with this random level is that I've controlled the inputs so that every 3 inputs contains exactly one of each of these atoms. So that's going to make it a lot easier to, to do the sorting without having to sort a lot of things at once and quickly get sticks of 3. And the other atom is tin, which is going to be necessary because I gave equal distribution of the podium inputs, but you need to turn one of these coppers into golds, and the difference happens to be 50. And I've given you, one fuser, only one sensor, which is quite restricting, but we'll see how people worked around that, and then 6 bonders. And use the voice Jason chat if you want to mention anything in the stream. Okay. So without further ado, let's look at the first solution. So this was, I believe, sent today, so I don't think I've taken a good look at it, but this is FieldArmada's Sync Purgatory. And what do we have going on here? Let's just start it running. So we're going to do, this is going to be, there was basically 2 ways that people went about this level. You either build sticks and then try and sort the sticks into the correct order after you've built them, sticks of 3 atoms, or you create the sticks in the right order in the first place by some amount of sorting. So this looks like it's going to be a sticks-based approach, and the Walders are going to now do some checking. There's the sensor on if they have the right order. So first, blue is going to make sure that it has silver at the end, which it currently does not. So let's see how it'll handle that. It'll wait for red to fix it now. And red's going to do, this is going to be a cycling approach, isn't it? So what's going to happen is red's going to try and cycle all of the atoms through the 3 atoms until it finds what it wants, and what blue wants specifically. So it'll go again, and now silver's on top, or on the bottom. And now blue wants, they both want gold in the middle, which happened to work out this time, and if not, it would have gone back, cycled it one more time, and then, let me just double check, take a look at this loop. How is it actually, copper goes to the top. Yeah, this is exactly just rotating through them. So we'll see in another case what it does when it has the second case fail. But here we've built the stick in the order that we want, which is silver, gold, copper. Now we're going to see that a lot of solutions go for basically noticing that you can do 2 sticks of silver, gold, copper, and then just fuse the last one. It doesn't have to be in this podium shape due to isomorphisms. But red's going to go ahead and drop that first stick over somewhere convenient, and blue will wait up and then they'll do the same thing again. So let's look how they do the second one. This one happens to come out in the correct order anyway. And now they need to fuse the copper for the second one up to gold, which they'll do with assisted fuse. Drop, do some amount of regrabbing to get in the right spot onto the bonders. And this 4 bonder chain that had to be reused because that's how the cycling was done. And then get the correct bonds in place, and this is our output. And what's this flip-flop doing here? Some amount of rerouting to hit the sync. And in some cases it looks like... Oh, was that the first? Yeah, that was the first case. So the second case we just go back to the start. I think that's the gist of it. So what's happening in this gold case? Let's look at that. Yeah, so here gold's not in the middle, so how do we fix that? We're going to do a special one where instead of rotating, I assume we insert... No, that just works. Am I getting my directions backwards? No, yeah. Blue has to grab it and flip it over. That's what happens. Okay. And then fine. Okay. So I think this handles all the cases then. Yeah, make sure that silver's on the bottom, rotate through it until you find it, and then all you have left is gold and copper, and you just have to have blue flip it over after switching the order. Okay, so this will come out to, this was our, let me check the table, 22nd solution, was it? No, 19th solution. So we had 19 submissions this week, including teams as one. All right, and this will come out to 2795 and 86 symbols. All right. And so let's take a look at our next one. DariusH with phone in. And yeah, sync purgatory, there are quite a few syncs in the solution FieldArmada was observing. So let's look at phone in. This one looks a bit simpler, and let's see what's happening. This is going to be a sorting approach where instead of building sticks first, you just put them all in the right spot. So red's going to detect copper, blue's going to detect silver, and I think red will grab the leftover gold and just put it in the right spot. So this stick will get built exactly in the right order. But this will take a few extra cycles to build this stick because of that. And this is a 3-camp flip-flop here. So once they've realized that they've done 3 of them and know that either one of them has put the right stuff in the right spot, they know that they're done. And red was only assisting with the construction. Blue will do the stick management after building a second stick and then fusing the tin in. Let's double check our voice chat. Okay. And yeah, that's it. So then they just need to add a second bond here and we're good to go. Rotate out nice. And yeah, again with the isomorphism shape. And it's interesting, we'll see later, but it actually turns out that a lot of the top solutions ended up using not the rectangle shape, even though that's what you would expect would be the best. So this will be a nice clean 48 symbols, and it'll come out to 2269. Very nice. So we're gonna have a lot of big jumps in this puzzle. This was quite a complicated puzzle, so the spread of the scores was quite high. At least very complicated to optimize at the very least. So next is Counterpoint with basic solution. So this is another sorting one with blue going for the copper. Red's going to wait until it detects... Hold on, have I looked at this one? Did this get submitted today? Okay. Blue's going to carry the copper down. What's red up to? Red is waiting until it does not see copper and then grabbing either silver or gold and putting it in the right spot. Yeah. Okay, so this is another sorting one, but blue's... Yeah, a lot of approaches did do this where they have silver kind of just waiting on standby for the gold and the copper to get sorted. Alright, sorry, this is gold. Or the copper, I mean. The copper waiting on standby. One of the atoms waiting on standby for the other two to get sorted, and then pick them up with a bond. So the fusion was also already done here. And then we just have to restart and do the same thing. And this time, it'll use a flip-flop to avoid the fuse, and basically done. So yeah, nice and... It is indeed a nice and basic solution, as said, but that's good for keeping things clean. One issue with this solution is that the Waldos are waiting on each other the whole time. There's never any kind of double pumping of the sorting or anything. So that'll cost a few cycles. And yeah, I think this wall stall with red had to be done because otherwise it might run in and grab it accidentally while blue is going or something. Okay. So let's see where that come out to. 41 symbols. This is even lower on the symbol count, and this will be 2199. Very clean. Nice. And that'll be good for 17th place. Biggie Mac with genuinely atrocious I don't know. There was a lot of solution names were like this. And we do have
I had ideas and then I built this instead because none of the ideas worked. So blue does too much work and red has a lot of spaghetti of just waiting.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. So this looks weird, but this is a 3-count flip-flop with just a long extra loop, and this is going to be one of the solutions that just shoves silver aside and then manages the copper and gold to be in the right order, if I recall. Yeah, so this is... What red is basically doing is waiting around until the right spots in blue's... Like, blue's doing all the construction by itself, but then red's waiting around and saying, hey, if it's the copper and the gold are in the wrong order, we have to flip them over. And also assisting with I think the fusion and the main construction afterwards. So
yeah,
we'll show where these get used.
Yeah. Few jobs for the 38 or whatever cycles it takes to get halfway.
We also had to do the shuffle of I assume for some reason this was really necessary to fit in, but it's unfortunate they had to grab and drop right here.
I mean, I didn't have to, but red had way too much extra time. So
so it was worth it? I see. Very good. All right. Yeah, so this is, our first case is, you'll see that this happens in the second atom. And specifically, this is a funny one. It only happens if the first atom was not silver, because the silver delays it. It goes up an extra 2 cycles. So that means you can basically say that this check is checking whether the first atom was gold and the second one was copper. But we're not in that case, so we're just going to keep going. And again, we're checking this also the third atom because we have to check at all if the first one was not copper and flip it over. But in this case, the first one was copper. And we'll have a simple one, put it beside, and then keep going after some amount of rerouting.
Notice the red only interferes on the first of the two stick buildings. It doesn't care whether the second one is in order because it can just spam fuse.
Yeah, that's another nice point that this solution uses, which we'll also see later, is this fusion. This tin, when you add it to gold, it's actually too large. And what SpaceChem does when that happens is that the fusion just does nothing. So you're going to see red's blind fusing here. And as Biggie pointed out, so that means that it doesn't matter where it is. You're going to get 2 golds either way. So only the first 2 had to be sorted, which is really convenient. The biggest thing SpaceChem will fuse into, thank you for the question, is 109 micnerium. There are some weird elements that count as higher for the purpose of fission, but you can't fuse into them. But that doesn't work with silver. You'll see that silver would create 97, which would be unusable. So that's why you can do that blindly with the copper and the gold. And we'll see later that some solutions take advantage of this kind of trick to save some work. But yeah, we'll do the fusion, blind fusion, or this blind fusion the second time around. And did I skip a case here? No. Okay, so let's take a look at when we do this copper case, for example. So here, a gold. The first one was a gold, as I mentioned. This one has to be gold first because if it was silver, this timing would have been missed. It would have been off by 2. So that means that we now know for sure that we've got these 2 in the wrong order, and that if we flip them over, we'll be perfectly fine. So red does that, and then it times nicely back into its regular case. So that's how it handles that one case. And the other time when it could have a problem is if they were in the wrong order, but silver was in there first, and it'll catch that over here. So let's see, nope, and nope, here. So if there was a silver in one of the first ones, but then the third one ends up being copper, and the gold's in the wrong order, then it also has to flip it over, and red will again do the same thing. So that was that 2 timed sensors to fix all the cases, and that's all the cases that can happen. And as mentioned, the second stick doesn't have to have the right order. So that'll do it. And yeah, just the extra bonder down there to fix the bonds, and we should be good for 62 symbols and 2045 cycles. So we're quickly approaching the 2K barrier.
No sinks, but
no
terrible inability.
Yeah, but yeah, nice solution. I like the blues. I didn't really look too closely at it for you guys here, but yeah, this is a fancy 3 count that when you go the second time around to reset itself, it'll also move the blue for red, which is nice. So the first time it drops it, and the second time it grabs it. Nice use of a grab drop there. And that turns into a 3 count. Yep. Alright, so let's go to the next solution, and this will be JFB 1337's. I don't know if this is good. And let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. Also, we have an extra error here, I'm pretty sure. Tisk tisk. Alright, so red's going to stall waiting for... this is just a slowdown in the case where blue needs to be doing something. So blue's going to wait for silver, and red's going to handle everything else. Red is going to sort again, a lot of solutions went for special handling silver, and copper and gold just get sorted by one Waldo and then flipped over if needed. But in this case, they're just going to get grabs dropped in the right spots, so there's no flipping needed. And once blue detects that once red is done 3 loops, it finishes this 3 count flip flop, hits the sync to tell blue to go, and blue meanwhile has grabbed the silver. So whenever it detected the silver with this bounce back stall, it just grabs it out of the way and waits for red to be done. And that's it. So it's done its first stick, and blue will just do the same thing to get the second stick. And the bonders are nicely placed so that this is pretty much already done, and just needs to do a fusion and an extra bond. Let's rotate out, and we're back. Well timed there too, I think. From the sync, it gets back just in time for red to work with red again. Oh no, sorry, red stalls on silver just in case, but yeah. So it doesn't matter what blue's timing is precisely. Alright, but that'll be good for only 39 symbols. This might have been our lowest symbol solution. Maybe not, I forget. 1974 and 39 symbols. Next is ieeemay. This is a team of ieee and anningmay. And there you have a metal detector. Very nice pun. Okay, sorry. What have we got going on here? This was, oh yeah, this was really hard to look at, but red is going to be, so yeah, let's look at the sensors here. Red is going for gold and copper, and blue is actually only handling silver in spite of this sensor here. That's just for delay reasons. So it's another one where blue's going to get the silver and put it out of the way, I believe, and just wait on that sync after some amount of counting to 3 so that it knows when red's done. And now that it's counted to 3, it knows that red's done the copper and the gold for it, with, again, a similar grab-drop array to what we saw before. And it's going to bond and make a stick. IEEE says this pun is the only good thing the solution has going for it. Well, it's got at least both Waldos working on the over the sorting, so in that sense it gains some efficiency here. This is definitely a really hard one to find clean approaches to, this puzzle. And yeah, we'll go the second time through, and once we've got more copper and gold sorted, we'll do the full construction and nicely go in and find a fusion. With the extra bond being created there, I didn't need the 6th bonder. And that's it, and red can get started while blue is doing the output. Yep, so pretty simple solution. I also should mention this silver sensor. Did I cover that? I don't think I did. So I think that's just a case handle so that it can insert itself into red's timing nicely. Or rather, yeah, it immediately detects whether it needs to, like, this is effectively a copy of like this sensor, I think. Immediately detects if it needs to go in there. Or rather, if it needs to go in there, it goes in by here for the grab, yeah. Is it, let's take a look then, if it's more complex, whether it's, in what cases we end up here. So it just, 2 cycles ago, it had silver there. Red did nothing because red doesn't detect silver, it skips it. And then red gets back into its regular case with blue counting. It does partial skipping, IEEE says. Yeah, okay. So I think it skips... What is it normally? Normally it would go through here, reset its flip-flops to get to the sync, and then count to 3. Or count to the remaining 2. But here it skips one of the cases, is that what we're saying? Beginning of the 5th product. This is... Going backwards with flip-flops confuses me. Okay. Resets it. 3. Yes, what would happen here if we didn't go through these?
I think what it's doing is it's if red has like copper or gold to deal with, then it basically gives red a head start to process that while blue is going to the output zone.
Okay.
But if
yeah.
But if it has silver, it has to take a path through to go through and grab silver. Because what it's doing is it knows that if it didn't trip the silver off, it has time to go through and count the flip-flop counter 1 time on its way up to the normal silver grab loop sense.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the unfortunate one is when the silver is the second atom in the series, and blue actually has to run through all 3 times. because there's no way around it.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. But yeah. It's definitely whenever you have 2 Waldos trying to do the sense handling at once, it's going to turn complicated. But yeah. So careful handling of the 3-cam flip-flop to manage that. Nice. Okay. And this will come in at 54 symbols, and let me remove my pause. 54 symbols, and it'll be, I think, just under 2K cycles. 1882. Actually, a pretty good jump. From the previous, so congratulations. And next is, and this is coming in at, where are we, 1918? 14th place, so we're closing in. Flexo with need 3 Waldos, please. SpaceChem 2 when. All right. This is going to be a stick building approach. We can see from the blues bonding. And this is going to be basically... Oh, yeah, this is an interesting loop. So this blue loop is another one of the rotation approaches, where you just take the stick and you rotate through all 3 atoms until you find what you want. So how blue does that is it debonds 1, flips over, and the net effect of that is that it has now moved the gold from the top to the bottom. And it's going to re-grab it, rotate, and it's back where it started. So it does that until it finds silver, and now we know that the last 2 are either copper or gold in some order, and red is going to wait for blue to... what is it? Oh, sorry, red is doing a timed fuse here, which potentially could have turned into 2 blind fuses, but the timing's a little weird because it also has to help blue escape. We'll see further here. So let's look at what's happening. So it times it. When it sees the copper come down, it fuses it, so it doesn't care about which one's which. And then they sync up. And then red has to be on the sensor here to tell blue, because blue wanted to go all the way straight up through its own path. So to do that, it needed an extra sensor. I wonder if this could have been a flip-flop, but I think there's a reason it couldn't have been. And thanks to red's help of telling it to go straight up, it does that, and then red assists with the new bonds to get the second stick started quickly. And then let's see how it handles the copper and the gold in the case where they actually have to be the correct order. Yeah, so here, there was actually, I think I just skipped it, sorry. Let's fast forward there. So here's where red starts detecting for the second stick. It already knows that it has the silver in the right spot, so thanks to this loop. And now it checks, okay, the middle one's gold, so it doesn't need to do any debonding. So it'll do a normal case where it just drops it in the right spot for blue, tells blue that it's done with the sync, and after some amount of repathing, finds its way out. And blue will hand off again to red for the output, so some careful pathing there, but that'll get red to start outputting while blue's getting started on its next stick. And let's look at what happens when they're out of order. I am curious, could this not have been a flip-flop? What am I missing? Is that just... no, there's a gotcha here, I think. I don't know what I'm missing. Drop in. Oh yeah, also there's an extra arrow here he's pointing out in the chat. So we'll remove that. Why can this not be a flip-flop? Sorry, I'm just gonna do a quick debug here. You would think it only ever hits this. Oh, that's why. Right. Because otherwise it would be primed when you came through here the first time, and then it would bounce back the second time. Yeah, of course. Okay. So yeah, for that reason, that's why there's this awkward little dance. You can't just go like around like this with red. You have to go straight upwards so that you can tell blue it's on a sensor. All right, and then let's look at the more complicated flip over case. So that's the first one. I think it comes in around 100 cycles in. Where are we? Here, the copper's in the middle, so now red detected that, and it's going to go to the right instead, debond, and put the silver at the back. And that'll effectively have flipped it over, or switched the order of the gold and copper by moving the silver. And after flipping in the right direction, it'll get back into its original case. Yep. So yeah, very nice. And this is how the stick approaches kind of work. It's some amount of figuring out how to either flip them over or rotate them or rotate through the atoms. And the exchange is that you get this nice fast stick pulling, but you have to pay for that with all the detection. And this will come in at a hefty 90 symbols and 1864 cycles. So a pretty close, actually 18 cycle difference there between the two of them. Next is mstang with turnover. And this is a fun one. This is it's effectively a double pump. And this is also a stick-based approach, so let's see what happens. So blue's going to go first, create a stick, and it's going to check the middle atom here. So it wants the middle atom to be gold. And if the middle atom is gold, then you can do some convenient stuff for reordering them. But it's not, so it's going to go through another of these, rotate through all the atoms until you find gold loops. And it still hasn't found it, so it does that again, which will eventually find it gold. And now, if we know that the gold is in the middle, then we just have to detect whether it's copper or silver on this end, and flip it in the right orientation. Which is the convenient thing about once you have the middle atom correctly, you don't have to do any rebonding. And meanwhile, red's going to start doing its second stick while blue gets flipped over in the right way. And fuses. Blue will do the fusion, red won't. That's the only difference between the extra handling here. And red will also have to bond to the extra stick at the end, so it'll go up here instead for its flip. But it did basically the same logic here. A loop to fix the middle, and then detect which side it needs to be on, and then flip over correctly. And yeah, that'll do it. Let's look at.
I like how red has basically two copies of the same command line.
Yeah.
One for if it took the up and one for if it took the down.
Yep. Yeah, pretty nice. So here we see the down case, so it instead flips over the other way and does two bonds, and it's good to go. Yep, so pretty nice solution. Now, as usual, the cost for these will be this flipping loop is really expensive, where you have to rotate through all the atoms, because sometimes you'll have to do that twice, and it's quite a large loop. But apart from that, like the double pumping keeps the rest of it kind of fast in terms of the end behavior. You can get started on the next one pretty much right away, and the flipping doesn't cost much time here. Alright, so this will come in at 102 symbols, even heftier, and 1691 cycles. Yeah, this is a very high symbols puzzle. So that was a big jump, something very nice, down to 170 cycles below. And next is the British Boys, which is, let me make sure I get this right. I should have run this down somewhere else. British Boys is Monster Racer, Mattermonkey, and Britboy. Okay, so let's look at what they've done. Oops. Yeah, with sticks. So obviously this will be a stick-based approach, I assume. Wait, is it? No, it's not, sorry. In spite of the name being sticks, this was also another error here, guys, please. I think someone else had an extra symbol that I removed and forgot to mention, but they didn't even hire someone. But yeah. Everyone knows they're not going to be a tie in this level, so they are throwing in extra arrows as means, I think. I'm pretty sure one of the three of them would have caught this. Yeah, so let's see what's happening. So this is going to be a silver sorting and leaving the copper and the gold mostly alone, which is going to be taking advantage of the blind fusion, I think. Yeah, let's see. Blue's going to do the blind fusion over here during these syncs, so red's doing all the work of the sorting, and blue's just timing fuses such that one of these two will be fused, I think. Yeah, there's 3 fuses needed here, but I think that's based on the various timings of when the silver case happened. What's after the sync? I'm not sure. I need to go further through that. So anyway, we've gotten one of the bottom coppers bonded, so now we know if we have 2 golds, and the top 2 are either copper or gold in some order. So how are we going to fix that? We have a copper sensor here, so now we know we're in the right case to bond to this side. And we're gonna be making a bit of a funny shape here, but with the silvers sorted, this is just how it works out. So it'll get red started off on its sorting again, and it'll create the last bond after a little dip back. It was unfortunate that this extra bonder couldn't be used to save maybe some cycles in this area, but not another one. Jeez, you guys. Yeah, so this first one's created, and you'll notice that yeah, the copper and the gold can be on either side here. It doesn't really matter because it's all the same isomorphism. But it did have to be sorted because we'll look at the other case. Basically, it's depending on where you bond, you have to, I think, debond one of them and put it on the other end. We still have copper on the top. Oh no, here it is. Okay, so we went upwards instead. We're going to bond to these 2 instead, and now we have to cut off this top gold and flip over. This was also quite a long jog. I'm not sure if that extra bonder could be used to fix that, but eventually we'll come around and pick it up and drop it out. So not too bad. And yeah, but this is a kind of a relatively fast sorting loop just because, I don't know, this is only a 6 loop to do the gold and the copper, which is nice. But it will not have blue's assistance, so it's still going to come in kind of high. And this will come in at, yeah, 63 symbols and 1577 cycles, another 100 cycle jump. These are all going to be like, a lot of these are 100 cycle jumps because this is quite the difficult puzzle to optimize. All right, next we have YellowBunny. I think that's the metric score that's listed there. And let's take a look. This is, I'm trying to recall which which this one was copper. Oh yeah, pulling copper aside and then blindly putting silver and gold in a stack, I think. And how is that going to get fixed? Oh yeah, here. So red's going to pick up the gold and silver in some order, and then flip them over with this rotate set. Meanwhile, blue's, once red is done flipping it over in the right order, so we have silver, then gold, then copper, blue's going to pick up the copper and do the stick stuff while red gets started on the next one. One fun little optimization that was, sorry, what's the name? YellowBunny did here is blue has a little bit of extra time, and I think what it did here is it does a drop, and you see how red in this case had to pull it down into the stack? The second time, red's just going to skip that job with this flip-flop. And blue's going to do it for it instead. That saves a few cycles. And then blue will re-pick up its stick handling. But yeah. And the reason these could be 4 count, or 2 and 4, or /4 count flip-flops instead of 3 or 6 is that this copper sensor detects early, so it's only actually handling 4 cases, or 4 items, or 2 per se. And yeah, blue will, the second time, it will come straight down, do a fusion, and it's off to the races with the drop. And this output can go all the way over here because it has to match red's timing. And it'll also match red's timing with some careful use of silver sensors, because red's timing changes over here depending on whether it's in a copper or a silver case, I think. And why does it not detect gold? Oh, it's... yeah, I forget what this handling was. It's complicated. It's got a, it says bounce back with a silver, bounce back, a second bounce back with a silver. Let's see when they get used. There's, yeah, in this case, the silver sensor has to be here to detect whether, which flip over case red's in, because this flip over case is faster. That's why that's there. Yeah. This flip over case takes an extra 2 cycles. So blue just does some careful handling of the timing here, and then it's, other than that, it's pretty simple. It just has to do the fusion and rebond and create the usual rectangle. Alright, so that'll be 61 symbols, and pretty, like with blue's assistance here, red's actually like decently fast in this handling, especially with the copper case being fast. So this will come in at 1574. Actually, only a 3 cycle jump over the previous. So it's pretty funny that, yeah, these, as usual with SpaceChem, these completely different approaches, and this one's special handling the silver and, you know, stacking completely differently and using the blind fuse approach, and it'll come in only 3 cycles off from this completely different approach that does the standard sticks, with blue assisting in the sorting. Or blue assisting in the construction, I should say. Yep. Anyway, but that'll narrowly win the 3 cycle tie. And it also would have won by 2 symbols anyway, but yeah, well done, YellowBunny. And next is Astronelson with metal to the pedal. No metal pun, but there's a metal pun. Alright. This will be, yeah, blue is a nice little loop here to sort all 3 of them by itself, so let's show that. So first it checks for gold. Gold will go straight across the middle. If it's copper, it goes down and around to this drop. And if it's silver, it'll go up and around to this drop. So just that will handle the full stick building. Meanwhile, red's going to have waited carefully for it to be timed correctly, using a few sensors to like make sure that it handles the cases that are longer, like this extra long one here. And another one to check if it's still too early. It'll wall stall if it has to. Finally, it gets the right timing and pulls the stick out. And it'll just set it aside for the second time. Here, for example, it has to wait until copper's done, wait until the gold's done, wait until the copper's done. Yeah, some very careful timing handling, which I won't go too into there, but nicely done with the wall stalls. And that'll allow blue to not have to use any sinks, which would have slowed it down potentially. I think. Because, for example, it wants to keep going while red's doing all this construction over here. And red's going to fuse and be done. Yep. So pretty simple to understand, nice and pretty fast with this tight sensor construction loop, or sorting loop. Let me check my checks. I don't think I've done that in a bit. Checks when red takes the lower path. Oh, sorry, I think that was in the previous case, but yeah. All right. Yeah, and yes, then we will note this is a sinkless solution, which is impressive. So this will come in at 44 symbols, very clean, and 1547 cycles. So 30-ish cycle save. Next we have rezoons with default solution copy, 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 copy. And let's look at red's loop here. This is pretty interesting. So it's doing half sorting. It's going to sort out the coppers, but not the rest. And it's a very tight loop. We're actually going to see something similar to this later. And a few other solutions, I think. And how's blue going to help out? So blue knows that after waiting long enough, it knows that red's done its construction loop, and also nicely red's loop is a fixed number of cycles, so blue doesn't have to worry about special handling the timing. And now blue's going to grab this, check if it's got silver. If it does, it'll flip it over this way. If not, it'll just keep going straight. So also worth noting that this is also not going to change the cycle timing. So that's nice. No need to do any special handling to sync up the times. And meanwhile, yeah, red's going to have a lot of empty loops here, which is unfortunate, but blue's going to get the fusion, or the first stick done, not fuse yet. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it does the fusion just by dropping in the right spot. And then it'll come in and pick the second stick up with its agnostic timing and finish the bonds off. Yep, nice and clean. So yeah, like the very careful handling to make sure that blue was always using the same timing was nice, because that means that red doesn't have to have any sinks or anything, and it can have this nice tight loop here. Bond, grab, drop, sense. Oh yeah, use of red's bond plus. Yeah, it used red's bond plus here, I forgot to mention, while it was constructing, which is just very, very nice. So that blue can get started on another bond without having to make red wait another 4 cycles. So tightly optimized. Alright, and that'll come in at... It's a very fast sense loop, so this is going to be a big jump of 100 cycles. The problem is that red spends a lot of these cycles without any inputs to actually sort, so it's kind of restricted by blue's, how long it takes blue to do the construction here. And next is lazieos with unnamed solution. Copy, copy, copy. Oh yeah, this was a fun one. All right, so this is, I believe, red's gonna sort 2 of them and blue's gonna sort 1. Is basically what happened here. So let's take a look.
Yep.
Red's going to do, yeah. So this is very similar to the other one we saw, where there's 3 sensors arrayed all around these, or 3 sensor commands arrayed all around the sensor, and several drops to be sorted into. So blue will wait for red to do the first one with some prep work, and then blue will do the second the same way. So it's kind of partially double pumped sense sorting. So this is there won't be any need to do any flip overs. So we'll just build a stick and fuse up with 1 flip flop, and the second time we'll skip that. And red does have 1 sink here. I didn't really pay attention to red here, but
yeah,
1 flip flop
the
sync count.
Timing on this thing is kind of horrible.
Yeah. And here it's a sensor's used instead to avoid the sync to get the timing right. And that'll do it.
I will have you know, I named all of the puzzles. I gave all the puzzles a name. Rookie just never bothered to, use any of the names.
Sorry, I forgot to say your team name, or your team is, this is Lazy Comet and brookieoz.
Oh,
brookieoz. Yeah.
Sorry.
So those are who we have in the chat here, yeah.
I had lots of fun names. You just never used any of them.
I keep copying them.
All right, and the second time it'll come through double bond.
Later.
And after some amount of sinks, we'll output. Yeah, so red hits the sink every second time, and blue will match that just to save on having to hit the sink with blue sometimes while it's in the middle of its sensing. There's no room for sinks. Yep. But other than that, pretty straightforward, and we'll drop it out. And that'll be good for... Oh, I forgot to mention this gold sensor, I guess. This is just, again, to handle red has a longer path in some case, to get the timing right. Sometimes it'll go over here and bounce back, and other times not. Yep.
Yeah, red, whenever red does a gold, it's an 8-cycle loop, and every other time it's a 10-cycle loop.
Yep.
So that there is to shortcut blue by 2 cycles in that special case.
Yep.
But there's a lot of really strange timing sync issues with
this only half sync.
Yeah,
Every second loop is not a sync. Yeah.
It's just
Must have been
horrible.
fun to fix. To get the timing right on.
Like one thing that you might notice is that blue actually takes 4 extra cycles in the case that it senses a silver, but red's loop is only 2 extra cycles. Whenever it sees blue sensing a silver, it's at the right side.
Right. Yeah. Here.
And that's shorting that loop from 4 cycle delay to 2 cycle delay saves like 20 cycles, and it's kind of magic. It's horrible.
Right. Is that the randomization based optimization? Based on which one you should optimize based on what?
It's not really randomization based because it ends up being that it saves cycles because the only time that red has to wait an actual 4 whole cycles on its sync is if it immediately grabs a gold right after blue does its thing for hitting silver. Yeah, it's very complicated, very horrible.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of random solutions.
Approaches.
Sorry, fastest of the which?
It is the fastest one of like 4 different approaches we tried.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. Yeah, that's just how. Yeah, optimizing random input levels can be really tricky. Just because you're never in really a known state. You have to like figure out which paths get hit more often sometimes and optimize for those. Yep, this will come in at 1301 cycles, a nice jump, and 63 symbols. So let's see what we have with gggol with sensory drug enhanced ducks in a row. You're gonna have to explain that name to me, but this is a sort of stick-based. Yeah, it's a stick-based approach, I think. Red, so this starting one is a what do you call it? Precognition optimization. Red will never hit this part again, but since there were some spare cycles at the start, red will do 1 sort for blue, so that blue can go into one of its faster cases here. Anyway, blue will create a stick in general and check if there's gold in the middle, like some other solutions, because if there's not gold in the middle, then you have to do some debonding and stuff, but if there is gold in the middle, you can just flip it over. So in this case, there is gold in the middle, so blue will drop it in the right spot for red, and red will just grab it in the right orientation with its own sense, which we'll see later. But basically it comes down either this way to flip it over the correct orientation, and then it comes down and fuses. And meanwhile, blue can get started already on its next one. Another basic case. Meanwhile, red's going to drop this somewhere convenient, and now let's see what red's doing with these senses. So here it's going to check for whether so blue's guarantee was that it's going to leave the gold in the middle. We'll see how it handles that over here too with some debonding. But red knows that the gold's in the middle, and now it's going to check what the end bits are. So in this case, the end is silver, so it'll go over to this side to grab it, and in the other case, it'll go to the other side to grab it. And I believe I'll check what the copper was for later. I think it handles some other case. Meanwhile, yeah, red will also have to do a gold check over here just for timing reasons, I believe. Oh, no, sorry. It was because in some cases blue is in the way, so red has to move 1 column over so that it doesn't collide molecules. Yeah. So let's take a look at some of those funny cases. I just glossed over that, but red just picked up with I believe the direct grab. Yeah, so here instead of detecting silver and going around, it goes straight through and grabs the other side, flips the opposite way, and we're good to go. Now here's where blue's special case is. It detected no gold in the middle. Let's fast forward to that again. No gold in the middle, and no gold on this end, so it'll debond the copper on this side. With some amount of dropping and grabbing, it'll get to the opposite side, and now the gold's in the middle again. And the other case will handle the opposite side where the gold could be. So once again, red's back to being guaranteed that the gold's in the middle, so it can do its usual stuff. And let's see if we can find the last case for blue here. That's the same one we saw before. Or is it? Yeah, no, it is. Just with... Yeah, blue doesn't actually care where the copper and the silver were relative to each other, just where the gold is. So here the gold's on the opposite end, so instead we're going to debond this end and only go 1 over. It's nice reuse of this bond here. just by debonding in a different spot, no matter what the spot where blue has to go and bond is always in the same spot. So that's nice. And with that, I think we're good to go. Where do we use this copper case? And yeah, so you'll also notice, so when blue has to go all the way over like this, red has to move out of its way, so it goes one extra column over for its dropout. Okay, here it is. So after it's done an output, red comes in for this copper sensor, and I think this is it a timing fix? No, it's not a timing fix. Yeah, no, sorry, it's just an extra, yeah. In the case where it has to loop around this awkward extra jog, instead of being able to reach the sensor, it has to use it up here. So these are basically duplicates of each other. And in this case, it'll detect copper instead because it'll save a symbol. Yep. So I think that's the entirety of it. Nice timing to like allow red to assist blue with these extra inputs, while red is also in the middle of its construction. So this will be, yeah, like pretty efficient a stick-based approach, and it'll come in at a hefty 85 symbols, but only 1269 cycles. And I think this optimization here saved probably like on the order of 2 cycles or something, because it allowed blue to skip these extra cases. Maybe more like 4 or 6 cycles. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't disallow precognition in this level because I just upped the outputs enough to discourage it and then leave the rest of you guys to abuse. Next is vpumeyyv with sensor galore 100. This is a fun one. Okay, so look at all these rotates and sensors. This is wild. So this is a stick-based approach too. But it's going to focus mostly on flipping things over to do the fixing. So let's see what blue does. Blue grabs it in the middle and checks, does it have gold? It doesn't, so it's going to move over and check if the gold's on this end. And now that it knows where the gold is, it knows it's on the far left, it's going to flip over to put the gold in the middle. Go back and then recheck, and now that it's in the middle, it can go to its usual case. Meanwhile, we'll see that red is going to do the second stick. So this is basically double pumped, but since there's so much time spent in the middle of the area, it's hard for them to both work at once. And the second check is just going to make sure that it has the silver on the bottom with an easy rotate over or under. And now red can get started with blue's assistance. And it's going to do basically the same thing, but because it has to do the fusion too, it's going to use different setup, which is probably slightly slower for the sorting, but more compact. So here we go. We have the same check for gold, but this time it'll flip it over 3 times in one case and 1 in the other. Oh, red arrow at the top, thank you. You're right. The red arrow was just to make it 100 symbols, wasn't it? Anyway, so yeah, let's look at red here. So triple flip over, and eventually we get up here knowing that we have silver on the bottom and gold in the middle, and we'll do our fusion. This is another blind fuse approach, actually, it looks like. So I think red might have saved some cases up here, because it only needs to create double gold, it doesn't care which is which. And let's see, well, let's look at red's other cases. Blue's kind of straightforward, we'll see its other cases, but this is a nice compact flip over style. So here it's going to check if it's got the gold on the other end, and if it does, then we can do this, just flip over the other 2, and eventually work our way back into our fusion case. This time with only 1 fuse, there's no blind fusion in this case. But yeah, there's a lot of cases in this to look at, so let's find the other ones. Here, instead of doing 3 flip overs, we just do 1 flip over, of course, to get the opposite way. And this copper sensor is going to decide whether or not it is going to bother going all the way down here or just go straight with only 1 fusion being needed. Yeah, okay, that's it. So it's not a blind fuse, sorry. This is just where the fuse had to be, and this is where the fuse has to be in most cases. So potentially using blind fusion could have saved this approach some cycles if that had been caught. But yeah, it's quite a tricky idea. All right, and let's look at the final cases on the left over here for blue and red, see if we can find them. Yeah, here we go. Nope, Where's the flip over? There's this fun double flip over in place. And I wanna show that. Here we go. So yeah, red wants to be in the case where the gold's on the far right, but it's not, so it just keeps detecting until it sees it. So that was a nice little compact flip over set of commands in a very tightly packed solution. And I might have skipped, I don't know, one of Blue's cases here, but basically in some cases, yeah, here it is. They'll double rotate over so they can get back. Yep. So a wild array of rotates and senses, but very nice approach for the stick-based, and that'll give us 100 symbols even with the extra arrow on purpose, I assume, and 1248 cycles, saving another 21 over the previous. Next is Sir with Turtleness, and I haven't been mentioning the rank numbers, so I think we're into, well, let me go check the bot's post. Where are we? vpumeyyv is 5th place. Yeah, I haven't been, so this page was all the top 10, starting from YellowBunny was 10th, 9th, and all the way through to 5th for vpumeyyv. It's very nice. And now let's look at our remaining top 5 solutions with Sir with Terrible Mess. This is another stick-based approach we can see from this side, and it's going to be basically double pumped. Yeah. So let's just see how we go about this. We're going to do a lot of sensing. So this is going to check for whether it's got gold on the end, and if it does, it's going to do some amount of flipping. But for now, we see that the gold's on the other end. We haven't detected in either of these cases, so we know we have to go over, grab it, and do more flips while debonding. So this is a nice assisted debond by red here. So this is also a very carefully timed solution, because I see no sinks. Oh no, I do see sinks, but still red has to carefully time a debond to assist blue, and then a rebond while it's rotating. So blue's very compact here. And it'll drop, repick up, and now it's got the gold in the middle like it wanted. So basically all these checks are to, I think, does this fix all the cases? We'll see. No blind fusion here? Yeah, no blind fusion here. In fact, blue's not doing the fusion, but we'll see. Red's going to do basically the same thing. Yeah, this is in fact the exact same commands except for the rotate for some reason. I guess because it was going to collide. And now red will do the fusion. So if it detects, yeah, it wants the gold in the middle, it doesn't care where the silver or the copper is how both of these work. So red's going to, in the case where the silver was at the bottom, it's going to fuse at the top. And that's pretty much it. What was blue doing over here? With these rotates. Just flipping over. We'll see what that gold command was for. Gold sense was for. And, yep. Blue, again, will do some amount of... Let's see if we can find those other cases, but... look at that nice... We're rotating out of the way just in time for red. This must have been hell to time everything correctly. Alright, and in this case we'll just do the fusion directly and then flip over the other way with some amount of pathing around. Also, it's worth noting that, yeah, it's nice that the input bonds were shared with the output bonds. Very fancy. Yep, sorry, let me just check my chat. Yeah, spicy reuse of bond plus, yeah, brookieoz. And red will check whether this gold sense will check whether it needs to help out blue, whether blue's in that weird case where it has to flip over some things, but if not, blue will just go over here and let's look at that gold sensor. Is this another timing based one? Yeah. This is just an extra 2-cycle timing. Okay. So a couple of things, but for the most part the timing was controlled by careful matching of sensors on both Waldos, which is really difficult, but good job fitting all that in, and this pretty compact way of doing all the flipping over with this array of sensors. And I think that's everything. I don't know, maybe we missed some cases in here, but these are basically, yeah, either going over the top, flipping straight down, or we went across and rotating around this way. Yep. With triple rotate to get the debond. Eventually, yeah, either way the gold gets stuck in the middle. Alright, and that'll do it. So that'll be good for 105 symbols, our heftiest solution yet, with 1115. Big jump again. And this is still only 4th place. We're closing down quickly on 1,000. Let's see if we'll cross 1,000. We have ToughThought with 6 cycle loop, sense, silver only. So true to name, this is going to only check for silver and do the copper and the gold blindly. And yeah, we're starting to get into some of what I mentioned we'll see more of earlier, which is only handling one of these atoms and managing the other 2 via blind fusion is what this is going to do. So this is where we're going to get a lot of efficiency. We only have to do 1 sense check here. And meanwhile, red is going to... So blue has set these silvers aside in 2 spots. It's going to construct both sticks at once, basically. Or, yeah, construct all 6 atoms at once. Or sort all 6 atoms at once, I should say. Meanwhile, it's doing blind fusion. You'll see it just does a fuse after every time, so eventually the bottom copper will get bonded. We'll get fused, I should say. And again, since this is bucketed by 3s, we know that for sure there was 1 copper in here that got fused, so we're good to go. We just have to detect which of copper or gold is on the top. Or do we? Yes, no, we don't. So TT is going to do something fancy here, which is a great way to save on senses. And which we'll see again later is get those silvers together, bond them to the place where we know we have 2 golds. And if we look at our output shape, we have this box here as the central part of it. But if we were to swap this copper and this gold, that's still an isomorphism. And that's what TT will do. So there's no need to check which of these is which. Just debond them, put it on the other side, and you're good to go. And this is why I mentioned that I mentioned the chat earlier. But surprisingly in this puzzle, you'd expect that the box, the rectangle-shaped output would have been like the best approach. But it turns out that 2 of the top 3 solutions are going to use this podium shape, or almost exactly the podium, but mirrored instead. Because that's just how it works out. Like the bond was more convenient on the top here. So yeah. And that is how you can do this level with only 1 sense command and only checking for silver. Yeah, pretty impressive stuff. Some ooze in the chat. Now, the reason that TT didn't manage to break into the top 2 solutions here is because this handling of the silver is a little bit awkward. We have to do a lot of running around to pick it up. Blue is, I think, going to spend some cycles not doing... Oh, no, sorry. I think blue might be constantly sorting, yeah, so that's good. But there's an even tighter loop that won't have to use all these, a full 6-cycle loop to get all these drops in. Red actually manages to keep up, though. There's never an empty cycle for blue, I don't think. So that's nice. So this will be cleanly 6 cycles per atom, so we can pretty much calculate off of this what it'll be. 6 times 6 is 36, times 30 is 900, about 1080? This should come in about 1080. 1103 with some amount of the 20 cycles of latency. Yep. So very nice solution. But yeah, there's a lot of awkward dancing around to get this finished, and blue has to do a full 6-cycle loop instead of something we saw previously. We saw a 4-cycle loop actually, which is more compact. Because of these extra drops that red has to run around and pick up. Yep. But this is very nice and taking advantage of that blind fusion idea to really save on time. So that's why this is why there's such a big spread of scores. There's some clean ideas, but they're really hard to find. All right, and now let's look at some of the next ones. So this is 55 symbols and 1103 cycles. This is a big jump of it's a small jump of 12 cycles over SIR. Let's just compare these again since they're so close. So, yeah, so this was reaching the limits of the stick-based approaches, and ToughThought is going for the sorting with blind fusion. And next we have Team Cornflakes, which is, let me make sure I get that right, Jojo, kitkinzer, and UsernameVoid. This is actually the same team that won last week, and because of where they are in the standings right now, they have been broken up slightly for round 4 because of how I've made the rules such that you can't have too strong a team. But for this week they were still together since this week had started already before the results for round 2 came out. And they are going to once again place very impressively, so let's take a look at their solution. So this is sub 1000, and per the name we're going to see our first sub 1000 solution. So red is going to do some amount of this is a precognition assist path, it'll never be hit again. And blue's on a 4-cycle loop this time. And again, it's silver sorting. That was all of the top solutions use this silver sorting idea. So we get some amount of coppers and golds, and we don't care which. And again, we're going to do all 4 of them. And now red's ready to come in and start construction and fusion. So here we go, blind fuses again. And yeah, again, I think there's no bothering to check which is the copper or the gold. Just flip it over, get the 2 golds in the middle, because you know these 2 are golds, this one might be a copper. And then after some amount of carefully not hitting the construction sticks, it's going to grab the silver out of the way. Oh my god, look at that. That's crazy. Let me check my chat one sec. But yeah, look at that rotate timing just in time before it could possibly collide. Because yeah, the other thing is you don't have 4 coppers and golds. If it was possible to get 4 coppers and golds in a row, this could collide. But because we know we have to have at least 1 silver, this is safe. So another funny use of the guaranteed bucket size. And yeah, and once again we've created the actual podium shape but mirrored, same way that ToughThought did it. And we're done. So this is going to be actually quite a bit faster because of the 4-cycle loop. And how well does it stay fed? How often does blue actually have an input? I think it misses a few in here. Yeah, there's one where blue missed the grab.
You can just count red's cycle length or loop length.
Yeah, but I'm lazy. This is what is this? 6, 14 plus the second time it goes around, it's going past here and merging earlier. I don't know. Something on the order of 30. So this will come in at 900s, 975. And 32 loop length, Jojo informs me. Okay, so yeah, this is a big jump, and we're now sub 1000 with 975, with this nice 4-cycle sense loop, which is mostly, like, almost used fully. But there's a few places where it misses it, and that's where we could still get some efficiency if we could just figure out how to get red to keep up with it. Because, yeah, this construction is going to cost red a lot of time, and that's going to cause it to, blue will be forced to wait for it, basically, by not doing an input at the same time. Or not receiving an input from red. And I guess I also didn't really, I kind of glossed over how red was helping here, but yeah, red just sorted the silver for it. Okay, so this will come in at 52 symbols and 975 cycles. And finally, in first place, we have DariusOne with Compromise. So congratulations, Darius, and let's take a look at this really clean solution. So again, we have the same 4-cycle loop with silver. But Darius finds a really good way to do all the bonding efficiently, and blue's going to have no missed loops. So red will, again, everyone did everyone near the top here did a little assistance because they had the space too. These solutions are compact enough that they can afford to do some precog here, precognition. And yeah, red will again sort that first silver for it, and we're off to the races. So how will this work? Red's going to first take the silvers, use those to attach to the stick and carry everything at once. And it's attaching to these 2 because we know that these are going to become the 2 golds. So after some amount of rotating, debond en route to our fusion, get the golds fixed with the blind fuse, and we are good to go. Oh, I'm sorry, it was all 3 of the top solutions, in fact. All 3 of the top solutions use the canonical shape except mirrored. So that was pretty crazy, I thought. But that's just how this works out when you have to put the 2 golds in the middle of the other 2. There's no point making them straight line. Yeah, and this is already near the output zone, and it's done. So just this construction loop with, tight rotate and debond at the same time as it's going down to fuse, and then coming up and it's already in place to pick that up, was very efficient. So that'll mean that blue gets to do constant 4-cycle loops, which means we can calculate that this will be about 4 times 6 atoms per molecule is 24 times 30 is 840. Yep. And no sinks, because it's timed perfectly, of course. I mean, there was no room for sinks in this or the previous solution, but yep. And this will come in at a walloping 854 cycles. So this is our top solution, and yeah, what a spread of scores. We had all the way from 854 up to above 2,000. So congratulations, DariusOne. This was really impressive. I was vaguely aware that there was some ideas with, maybe blind fusion, but the silver is a problem, so I hadn't really worked this one out. But yeah, you guys found a really efficient approach with this. Only 1 sense command. All right. So, and I think, yeah, our top was the 39 symbol, so I had the lowest symbol solution just for fun. It was JFB. So, congrats on that, JFB. It was a very simple solution, which is nice. All right, and next we have two fun solutions, one by ToughThought and one by YellowBunny. So let's take a look at those. I haven't actually looked at these yet, so ToughThought with bounce backs. And this is, I believe it scored slightly above his submitted solution. But what are we doing here? So we have red detecting silver, blue also detecting silver. Oh, is this an attempt to double pump the sorting of the main idea that you had? Okay, yeah, the usual. Yeah, so this is an attempt to double pump the sorting, but I guess it just didn't work out because there's a bunch of extra paths needed to get both of them in there, I guess. It just didn't happen to like double pump enough to be worth it. So then we do the same idea, blind fuse, bond, and once again we've mirrored the output shape. Very nice. Let me just see if I understand what's going on here. Grab, bond. Yeah, so this is, so here he made more of a silver stick, unlike where previously he did 2 drops. He found was more efficient in his other case. Just because of how it worked out with the 6 loop versus the 4 loop. Yeah, very nice. But this will come in at 1233, which is, I believe, maybe 100 cycles above his main submitted solution. Yeah. And last we have YellowBunny with... oh, sorry, I think someone's got their mic on. I might have to mute you if you don't mind muting on. Next is Single Waldo by YellowBunny. All right, Single Waldo solution. Here we go. This is going to be interesting, especially because I don't think YellowBunny knew of the blind fusion idea, so no shortcuts here. Okay, so we're creating a 3-stick, and we'll grab that, and check the middle. Let's see if it's gold, as usual. So no gold, check the other end, flip it over, come back with... Oh, okay, so we have 2 sets of bonders. One over here, one for the construction, and one for the debonding as needed. Oh boy, this is going to be... Okay, I picked you up on that side, very nice. And then we get back, and again, it's a main loop where you try and constantly check if gold's in the middle. And then in the other case where gold is in the middle, you fix the ends with this copper check. This case doesn't have to be fixed. In this case, also doesn't have to be fixed. And the second time you come around, you go through over here to the fusion with a nice bounce back flip-flop. And we're done. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, like space over top of the bonders is so tight, that yeah, red had to go all the way over here to do the extra bonding, of course, or debonding. All right, and I think that'll basically be all the cases, right? Yeah, that'll be good for 56 symbols and 2598 cycles. All right, very nice. It's always fun to see a single Waldo solution. And I think that's it for our round 3 video. So once again, congratulations to everyone. Sorry this was a bit of a harder puzzle, but I think there was some interesting trade-offs you had to make with that only one sensor available. But we saw quite the spread of and variety of solutions with the sticks versus atom sorting, so that was good. And they stayed pretty competitive until the end, where this blind fusion won out cleanly with the top 3 solutions. But yeah, thanks for everything, and I guess we'll call it there. Have a good week, everyone.